And specifically with respect to contract labor, we discussed on the first point, instead of 20, right, the threshold limit is getting increased to 50. If there are 50 or more contract workers in an establishment, then the contract labor part will be applicable for that establishment. Similarly, applicability to the contractor also. If a particular contractor engages 50 or more workers under him, only then the contract labor part will be applicable to that person, right? And again, I repeat, the regular employees or regular workers of the contractor, they should not be counted as contract workers, right? And core activity is defined, and engagement of contractors or contract workers in core activity, it is prohibited, right? Very clearly it is prohibited. I think it is listed this, what are all the core activities, or what are all the activities for which the establishment can engage contractor, that is listed down, right? Only in case if though none of them it itself becomes a core activity for that establishment, right? So engagement of the contractors or contract workers in the core activities, it is very clearly prohibited, but now clearly now listed. And contractors having operations in multiple states, they can have common license now. So instead of separate license, I think they can have one common license. But again, I am doubtful as to the procedure because when we say contractor, he is not independent. So the definition actually it opens with the wordings contractor in relation to an establishment. So contractor is not isolated. He is not independent. Only contractor in relation to an establishment. So even if he has operations in multiple states, if he is at least working for the same establishment or establishing the same management, then I think that person can have common license. But if he is providing services for different employers in different states, I don't know how can he be issued with a common license, right? Possibility, I think the procedure has to substantiate that. And direct liability of principal employees for the provisions of various amenities to contract. I think current section 16 under the Contract Labor Regulation Abolition Act, as per which I think starting from drinking water, all the amenities are to be provided by the contractor themselves, right? Only if the contractor fails, the liability of providing these amenities passes on to the principal employers. But now it is directly the responsibility is attached with the principal employers. They have to provide all the amenities like they do for their regular workers. And even if the persons are engaged directly by the employers from other states, they will also be now treated as interstate migrant workers. So if we are recruiting a person from other state for working in an establishment which is situated in a different state, that person will also be considered as interstate migrant. It is not necessary that person should be hired through a contractor. Even if that person is engaged directly by the employer, he will also be considered as interstate migrant worker based on maybe whatever experience we had during the recent pandemic. I think that is the reason. And instead of 5, which is the threshold limit for application of Interstate Migrant Workers Act, now it is getting increased to 10, which means in an establishment, if there are 10 or more such interstate migrant workers, only then this interstate migrant workers portion part will be applicable. And there is another anomaly. Contract labor chapter applies to manpower supply contracts. If you go through the application section 45, which discusses about the application, it says just manpower supply contractor, right? So the job contractor is not included. I am not very sure what exactly is the reason, or anything is just missed out, because if we go through the definition of the term contractor, it includes both the types of contractors, both manpower supply contractor as well as the job contractor. Similarly, under section 47 of the code, the license is prescribed. That is also prescribed for both the types of contractors. But unfortunately, in the application portion alone, they have mentioned just as manpower supply contractor. I think this shall be an error. And specific to interstate migrant workers, as I said, instead of 5, if there are 10 or more interstate migrant workers, then this part will be applicable. And workers from other states, even directly employed, would become interstate migrant workers now. We discussed on that. And in case of fatal accident or serious bodily injury, to any interstate migrant worker. I think the report shall be submitted to the specified authorities of both the states, right? In the destination state as well as in the person's home state, right? And also information is to be given to the next of kin of the worker. And provision with respect to payment of displacement allowance. See, now we'll be paying displacement allowance as well as journey allowance, both to the interested migrant workers. But I think displacement allowance, it is removed now in the code. It need not be paid. But journey allowance is to be paid to the interstate migrant workers once in a year. That is how it is. And benefits of public distribution system, the ration system, I think it should be made available for the interstate migrant workers in the destination state, right? But of course, for which the appropriate government has come up with the system, and also for the toll-free helpline to the interstate migrant workers. Again, the scheme is to be framed by the appropriate governments. So, for just to enable them to contact their people in the in his home state.